Like most Chinese people, my godless childhood was no surprise. Growing up learning about evolution in China, I believed science explained everything and that there was no God. My parents often fought and never loved each other. Out of guilt for my father's lack of affection, my mom spoiled me, which made me a self-centered and a rebellious personality. At 15, despite my family's objections, I enrolled in a secondary art school in another city to pursue acting and imagined myself performing on big screens. But reality was harsh. Although I excelled academically, I was bullied, isolated, and suffered emotional abuse and school violence. Depression followed because of trauma, and overeating became my only comfort. At my lowest point, Jesus came and knocked on my door for the first time. I met a school counselor who prayed for me, cared for me, and invited me to her home church. But I resisted creation and walked away. She didn't give up and gave me my first Bible. However, I didn't read it until one day I opened the Bible randomly to Matthew 5:39 about turning the other cheek. Not understanding it was God that was teaching me to forgive. Instead, I grew angry, put the Bible away, and never picked it up again. After graduation, weight again ended my dream of acting. Depression and trauma deepened my resentment, and I often lashed out at my mom. Then Jesus knocked on my door again. During Chinese New Year, I met an elderly man abandoned by his son, living in terrible conditions. Out of sympathy, I helped him and was surprised to learn that he was a Christian. He invited me to his church. I didn't refuse, but I never went either. Only years later did I realize this was Jesus' second knock. After aimlessly spending another year, I eventually turned to car sales, where I found some success. But after losing all my savings in a failed business venture, again, I felt purposeless. In September 2019, I came to the US as an au pair. COVID hit in 2020, and by September, I left the program to live on my own in New York. By 2021, after lockdowns and the restrictions, I felt lost again and asked myself, what is truth? In my confusion and pain, God knocked on my door for the third time. In April 2021, through a mutual friend, I met Susie. After learning she used to study journalism, even though we just got to know each other, I somehow shared the many concerns and the confusions I had about the world with her. She shared her testimony and invited me to the Church of Jesus. To be honest, I didn't want to go at first because of the distance, but her sincerity moved me. The following Saturday, with the purpose of seeking truth, I came to COJ and attended the Logos for the first time. And the next day, I attended the Sunday service. While attending the service, I was overwhelmed by the way the church members worshiped the Lord. When praying, everyone was yelling and crying, even guys. I wondered, what are they doing? Why are they all crying? After the service, I had a deep conversation with Susie and learned the second coming of Jesus. I realized that this world is even darker than I thought. Suddenly, many of my questions were answered and all my confusion disappeared. The night I returned from COJ, I bought a Bible online wanting to learn more about Jesus. I also started going to MMC too to have Bible study on Thursdays. During that time, I heard a lot of testimonies from the church members and found it miraculous and inspiring that many of them had their diseases healed through just prayers. However, I was still filled with doubts and did not have enough faith in the existence of God. Meanwhile, I decided to audition for a performing arts school in New York City. After nearly a month of preparation, in November, I went on the audition, and things went very well with me. In the same month, Susie invited me to attend Zoe 2021. But at that time, I didn't plan to go. First, it was because my schedule was not working. And second, it was because I didn't think I was ready to get baptized. Although I declined the invitation, deep down in my heart, I believed that if it was God's will, He would make a way for me to be baptized anyhow. And surely, Yeshua made a way for me without a doubt. On Friday evening, just a few days before the registration of Zoe closed, my employer stopped me when I was about to leave and told me that they wouldn't be in the city from the following Wednesday throughout the rest of the week. The days when they were away were the same days when Zoe would be held. The moment I heard it, the first thing that popped into my mind was, I can go to Zoe now. I knew it was not a coincidence. It was an invitation from Yeshua. It was in that moment I wholeheartedly believed in the existence of the living God. The moment I believed that God is real, I also believed that Yeshua is real, and that heaven and hell are real too. I don't want to go to hell. I want to be saved and forgiven by Him. Without a single hesitation, I registered for Zoe 21 over the weekend and went there with a joyful and determined heart to get baptized. Having no idea what it was about, my goal was simple: to get baptized and then go home. During Zoe, it was also my first time hearing Pastor Kang's testimony. As I watched her speak, I was amazed by the power in her voice, her heartfelt sermon, and her unwavering faith. I even found myself wondering, how old is she? Maybe around 60? Oh boy, I was way off about her age. The Zoe schedule was intense, yet it flew by so quickly. When it was time for baptism, Pastor Kang called all the people who wanted to receive baptism to come to the front. When she asked us to raise our hands if we acknowledged we were sinners and believed that Jesus is the only Savior of our lives, I raised my hand immediately without a doubt. And finally, I received my baptism and became a Christian, a child of God. The same day, I also received the Holy Spirit. Thank you. However, just 1 week after Zoe, I had to face a spiritual test. The school I auditioned for called me and told me that the professors loved my performance, and I was admitted. The staff asked me what I wanted to be in the future. Learning that I wanted to be a successful actor, she told me if I enrolled, they would introduce me to opportunities in film productions. Upon learning that I couldn't afford a tuition fee, she even voluntarily reduced it and offered me scholarship. After the phone call, I felt like I was closer to my dream than ever. But strangely, there was no joy in my heart. Rather, recalling the verses about Lucifer in the Bible made me question myself. Why do I want to be an actor so much? Is it because of love for acting? No, it was never out of love, but the pursuit of money, fame, and vanity. In John 8:32, it says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." After confessing and accepting the truth, I completely laid down my desire and ambition. I didn't feel sad at all. Rather, I couldn't feel more relieved and happier, and I regained the simple happiness that I had lost over 10 years. Meanwhile, my depression was gone. It was God, Jesus, who set me free from all those sinful desires and worldly chains. Getting baptized is not just getting baptized. It's a commitment, and there is no turning back. In the first year of being a Christian, I didn't know what the duties were as a believer, and I lived a life that was half spiritual and half worldly. And I barely evangelized. Knowing that my faith was little and feeling anxious about my spiritual growth, at the beginning of the second year, I began actively participating in many church gatherings and activities and decided to join my regional and age group in Manhattan every Saturday to evangelize and share the gospel. Going on evangelism, bringing souls to the church, attending logos, going on relief mission, and serving with the church members brought me a lot of joy. However, the joy and the excitement of being a new member faded away quickly. Oftentimes, I felt consumed by loneliness, anger, resentment, and jealousy. Many times, I just wanted to give up and quit. I asked Yeshua why he had to put me through this and how long I had to suffer. But his answer to my prayer was, endure. This led me to start questioning the purpose of my previous service. Was it truly for God, or was it just for myself? And the answer was clear. My previous faith life was often driven by my own passion and ego. Whenever I had thoughts of giving up, I would think of when Jesus was on the earth. He also suffered countless insults, curses, and afflictions while he was innocent. This pain and struggle, however, made me start to pay more attention to and appreciate the church members who have been serving quietly without expecting anything in return. If I couldn't carry on the duty he gave me, how could I call myself a follower of him? I didn't realize it until now that when I am able to go to church freely and receive this abundant spiritual food, I am privileged. When I can go on the streets to preach the gospel without the worries of getting arrested, while many other believers across the world are under persecution, I am privileged. When I was filled with the resentment and anger at night, and the complaints and the bitterness by day, I realized still how sinful and selfish I am, and acknowledged that I am the worst sinner in the world. More than once, I wondered why God would save a person like me. If it were not for His grace, I would have only deserved to go to hell. Suffering leads to salvation. Although the affliction was overwhelming at the moment, prayers and endurance gained me more maturity in faith. One of my biggest prayers for this year is to wash my brothers and sisters' feet. It's hard, but despite all the flaws and the sinfulness we have, our God, Jesus, washed our feet anyway. So what excuse do I have not to serve Him? Looking back on my life now, I realize how God patiently waited for me and transformed me with His love. He used suffering to humble me, let me lay down my pride and arrogance, and made me more appreciative of other people's kindness. He took away my pain and worries, but filled me with peace, just like a kid, full of joy and energy. Through His love, He healed my wounds and taught me how to forgive. As I was writing this testimony, I realized that I have forgiven those whom I once thought I would never forgive. I want to thank Susie for evangelizing me. It was her sincerity and perseverance that brought me to COJ. I also want to thank my regional group leader, Charles, who is always patient with me. I want to thank Pastor Kang, Pastor Joe, for being such good and disciplined pastors in nurturing our souls. I want to thank all the church members who have been serving selflessly and quietly. It is because of every single one of you that this Truth Church can continue to stand. It's hard not to cry, knowing the goodness of God. He would have never failed to love or accept me. Even when I lose my youth, health, body parts, or sanity, He will always love me to the end. And there is no end, because His love is everlasting.